everyone, I'm Auntie Kara, but this video is not for kids. This is another edition of book reviews for grown-ups who love fairy tales. Today we are going to be talking about The Shadow in the Glass, which is by JJA Harwood. This is a book that I saw on a TikTok video and I had to pick it up. It was described as a gothic twist on the Cinderella story, and that piqued my interest for sure because I love fairy tales, as you all know, and I love gothic literature. Goes back to my English major days. So I definitely had to get this one, and it didn't disappoint. It was a wonderful, magical read. It is not light and airy, like it's definitely a darker version of Cinderella, and it's definitely a different story, and I really liked the way the author took it kind of through a creative journey. So I'll give you a bit of a summary. Cinderella is not really Cinderella, she is Eleanor. And Eleanor is a girl moving towards being a young lady who was born poor in England, I believe London, and she ended up taking care of her very sick mother, basically until she passed away on her deathbed and lived with her dead mother for, they don't really say exactly how long, but it was a while before she was discovered and helped. And luckily, a benevolent upper class woman took pity on her and fell in love with her and brought her in as her own daughter. So she was raised for the better part of her late childhood, early adolescence, as a girl who would one day be a lady in the London court, and all the rights and privileges and lifestyles that would have afforded her. Unfortunately, this mother figure passed away, and her husband was not a very nice man, and her son, who was kind of raised alongside her, was away at school and traveling the world and all of that sort of thing. So in the wake of a lot of expenses, a master who had a drinking problem among other vices, she was delegated from kind of lady of the house to a servant, and one of the housemaids, which I'm not going to go into too much about that, but there's a lot of hardships. Trigger warning, there is not explicit description of, but there is talk of sexual assault. The master of the house likes to corner the young and cute housemaids and have his way, so to speak, which often results in the women becoming pregnant and getting kicked out of the house and onto the streets. And the streets of London at that time were not a very forgiving place. So in the wake of all of this and a friend getting kicked out, she meets her fairy godmother, who is not a fairy godmother in this story. In this story, the fairy godmother is actually a demon, and she makes a Faustian deal in exchange for 7 wishes to give her soul. So that's kind of the basic. I'm not going to go into too much more because I don't want to ruin anything. It is fantastic in its whimsy, in the way it explores morality. And I definitely had moments of, like, you know, when you get angry at a decision the character makes, and you shut the book and put it down and just say nope. So that's how you know it's a good book. Like, it definitely got an emotional reaction out of me, and I connected with a lot of the characters, and it was a meaningful story and a very fun read. So I'm going to read to you guys 2 passages. I'm not going to go too much into the love interest because I feel like that should all be a surprise. But I'm going to read a couple passages about her interaction with the demon, or also known as the black-eyed woman. Eleanor closed her eyes. What would she ask for if she had such a powerful servant at her beck and call? Gold, diamonds, piles and piles of jewelry, so that if she tried to wear it all at once, she wouldn't be able to stand up. A magic carpet that would take her all around the world, past the palaces of India and the pyramids of Egypt. She would glide over forests and oceans, whirling beneath her in a blur of green and blue. And at night she would lie back in the sky and sleep in a nest of stars. She could draw the universe around her like a cloak, with a servant like that, robing herself in rainbows and moonlight and the shine on soap bubbles and 1,000 other lovely and impossible things. When she opened her eyes, there was a woman sitting opposite of her. The woman's light brown hair was pulled back into a neat bun threaded with silver. She was middle-aged and plump, not short, not tall. Her printed calico dress looked soft and clean. The woman would have looked perfectly ordinary if it hadn't been for her eyes. They were all black, like holes through her face. "I do hope I'm not disturbing you," she said, her voice gentle and almost familiar. It begins. All right, I've got one more for you. The black-eyed woman smiled. "I have seen many things. I will see many more." "My dear girl, I know you already," Eleanor shivered. Do you see everything I do, even when you're elsewhere?" "Of course. How else could I grant your wishes?" Eleanor swallowed. Melting ice dripped through her fingers. "When you disappear, where do you go?" The black-eyed woman patted Eleanor's hand. "It's a little difficult to explain. I am always with you, but I am elsewhere as well." "I don't understand." "I wouldn't expect you to, dear. Just try to think of it as moving between the gaps." "The gaps? How can you move between them? What are you?" The black-eyed woman's face could have been carved from rock. Firelight cast strange shadows across her skin. One moment her eyes seemed as large as the sockets of a skull, the next they were sharp and small. In the flickering light, the space behind her chair was full of swooping avian shadows. Icy water trickled down Eleanor's wrist. Her pulse fluttered like a trapped bird, and suddenly she realized how fragile it was. It stuttered and stammered and rushed and danced, but one day it would stop, and the black-eyed woman would still be there. Eleanor's hopes and dreams meant nothing to her. Her ageless hands could change Eleanor's life, sculpting wishes out of formless dreams, but she would do so without caring. The realization moved through Eleanor like ink swirling through water, dread straining everything she touched. The woman's smile widened. All right, so those are the passages I'm going to leave you with, and just one more thing, that this book pays attention to detail, and the detail of the surroundings and the clothing and the characters, all the little bits, which is really what I feel gives Gothic literature its oomph and its magic. So in that way, it kind of reminded me of a modern Jane Eyre sort of esque kind of work of literature, and it was just so magical, and I hope you pick it up. If you do, please like and comment. I love to hear when people have read what I've read, or if they decide to read based on one of my videos. It would be great to hear. And as always, if you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe below, and I will try to have another one up in a few weeks. Ta-ta for now.